Hello, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed fans across the globe. Happy weekend. Trust everyone is getting on well. I welcome you to this exciting moment here, and this promises to be a very precise and straight to the point. We're not going to waste much of our time because I believe this is weekend, and of course, we have so many engagements, so to say. We I want us to deliberate on this very critical and sensitive issue bordering on the security of life and properties within the defunct Eastern region or the defunct, there have been a very sustained and serious drive for the independent state of Biafra, of which, according to the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government in exile, it has gained more momentum, more publicity, more awareness has been created. In fact, within the international community, it has become a subject of discourse, a subject of deliberations, and of course, Biafrans have gained more sympathy from different nations and individuals who have seen or perhaps have heard their own part of story after the Civil War ended 50 years ago, more than 50 years ago. Now we are faced with the current realities and dilemma. We've seen of most recent the invasion of militias, alleged to be Fulani militias, assaulting and killing the Biafrans, most pronouncedly within the border states with the northern axis, the Enugu and Ebonyi states have, of course, at the receiving end. Now the question or the subject of discourse is, who should be blamed over the loss of lives and properties? Of most recent, we've had the Chief of Defense Staff of the Nigerian Defense Headquarters coming to tell the world, or perhaps the Nigerian populace or citizens, that they should not expect otherwise if there could be any eventual assault on the citizens' life and that of their properties, that the militaries are not magicians and they can't be everywhere at the same time. By that singular submissions, the Chief of Defense Staff have admitted, of course, laxity, or have admitted the weakness and incapacity on the part of the security operatives to protect the territorial integrity in the Nigerian state. And of course, the life and property of Nigerians are in jeopardy. That is another way of telling them that you are the chief security of yourself. Though we are paid, it is our duty and responsibility to protect you as a citizen, to protect the Nigerian territorial integrity. But the current realities has proven otherwise, that we are failing in terms of that singular responsibilities. And you don't have to blame us because we have already warned you ahead of time that we can be everywhere and we are not magicians. It's following this statement made by the Chief of Defense Staff, of course, was the renewed attack on Benue citizens or indigents by the supposed Fulani militias, where they were massacred. Scores of them were massacred helplessly. And sometimes, even when distress calls are being put across to get the attention of the security operatives, the military, to intervene, sometimes they end up, of course, not coming, or coming when the damage may have been done. Serious damage indeed, loss of lives, several casualties, houses burned down, and of course, citizens are massacred helplessly. The unfortunate thing is that at the end of the day, the perpetrators of this heinous crime, of course, are at large. Nobody could apprehend them, let alone bringing them to justice. It's quite unfortunate. This has become a recurrent happenings within the Nigerian state. Now, the question, our fundamental issue of discourse is primarily the responsibility of any responsible government is to protect life and property of the citizens. And any government that does not prioritize the life and property of her citizens is a failed government. Now, the chief of defense staff coming publicly to express such level of disappointment and frustrations, in fact, telling the Nigerian populace directly to their face that we're incapacitated. You don't expect us to be everywhere at the same time. What does that imply? That Nigerian security system has been threatened. The insecurity rocking the Nigerian state across every region could no longer be curtailed by the military personnel or the security personnel on ground. That one, they are short of human capacity, and of course, short of logistics and finance to mobilize the people. That is what they are coming out to tell the Nigerian populace after several blames and allegations that the military or military personnel are complicit of whatever is happening, and of course, they are aiding the insecurity rocking the entire country. They have compromised their primary responsibilities and obligation to the state and, of course, to her citizens. But unfortunately, that is just the truth. For him to have some up courage to come and tell you the truth, I think that should be commendable. But that notwithstanding, it is quite ridiculous for a serving chief of defense staff to come out to tell us that he is handicapped, his men and personnel could no longer, of course, match shoulder to shoulder with the state of insecurity, and see how they can nip that at the bud is a way of saying that we are submitting or surrendering, because there's no other reason why they are in the military. Just as the same chief of defense staff saying that the insecurity in the eastern part, or precisely the southeastern region, will be tackled. He pledges. It is not about pledging. What are you pledging? Are you going to church? Are you doing bazaar? You are not doing bazaar. Nobody cares about your pledge or promises. Militaries were not there to make pledges. They have borrowed the leave from the politicians who will make empty promises. At the end of the day, you are just on your own. So what am I saying in essence? I'm trying to lay, of course, the preamble for this discussion. Now, you can now appreciate the fact there is serious dilemma. The Nigerian population is in serious dilemma, because by that singular statement, the chief of defense staff has told the entire Nigerian populace that they are on their own. In fact, they are helpless. They can't protect, just as the Jos massacre or Plateau massacre, when this cause was put across, and they never came until about 72 hours thereafter. And these militaries, killers, who were trying to kill, to destroy, were on ground, operating for more than 48 hours. For more than 48 hours, massacring communities, replacing them, of course, taking their ancestral homes and their belongings. And what the military could tell us that the terrain is something they have not mastered, and of course have some setback in trying to navigate through within the same Nigerian territorial landscape. So it is now difficult for the military to circumvent, to carry out surveillance, and to protect life and property within the said Nigerian territory. That now will tell you how serious this problem is. Honestly, it gives, of course, a very serious concern and worry to anybody who understands security details that already, just as the president last week told the entire military chiefs that they should brace up because some military groups are trying to overrun the Nigerian state, only for the chief of defense staff to tell the Nigerian populace that they are not in charge. They can't be everywhere at the same time. Is that a cogent reason or a cogent excuse that would come from the chief of defense staff and the military chiefs who were trained to man the security or protect the territorial integrity of the Nigerian state and her population? Now, what we are there contracted to do, while we are there, of course, enlisted in the Nigerian army and to serve in that capacity of chief of staffs of the army, of defense, and of course the navy, the air, and whatever security operatives that may be on ground. Now, you cannot understand that it is very clear that the military has already given up or accepting the responsibility of protecting the life and property of the citizens. They tell you the military can't be anywhere. You can't be making such excuse in a state of insecurity where the needful is expected. The ingenuity, of course, the technical know-how of surmounting this insecurity. The military has been trained and prepared for eventualities and even for the worst. But unfortunately, coming to tell us that you can't be everywhere at the same time, as if you are making, you are doing a favor to the Nigerian populace to have been enrolled and you are in the payroll, you are being paid salaries, you're being paid allowances to protect Nigerian population. But unfortunately, you are saying that it is no longer business as usual. The state of insecurity have revealed, of course, the level of unpreparedness, lack of capacity building, and of course, infrastructure or strategy on how to combat this insecurity. And of course, we've had some northern people or the clerics, like Bumi said, that you can't destroy Boko Haram. Now, Boko Haram is, of course, the brainchild and the ideology. They are protecting the interests of the northern people, possibly to ensure the Islamic Republic or Caliphate is entrenched within the northern hemisphere. Of course, Sharia law has been prevalent within the northern populations. They have their own police, the ISBA, whatever they call them, and of course, other military groups. But the issue is coming down to the east. We have the governors of the eastern region, which under the law has a statutory obligation to protect the life and properties of the average Easterners or anyone resident within their domain. Sometimes they will say, of course, it is not, we are not in control of the military, we're not in control of the police, but security vote is being allocated to the governors, allotted to them on monthly basis. I was learned it was about $1 billion or more to the states, which is not accountable. They use it to do whatever they feel. But I think the very reason it was given is to protect life and property of the Nigerians within their own domain. But it has been very clear that repeatedly these people have failed to protect the people. They have failed to address the incessant insecurity and, of course, the forceful disappearance of the people they're supposed to protect. Kidnapping, adoption, kidney harvesting, organ harvesting, and other vices, of course, are in increase. Now you begin to ask, of most recent, we've seen how in Enugu, a young lady or a teenager instead, a girl was raped by the Fulani headers. The point, you can't imagine people sometimes they do sleep with animals in their forests. You see? Sometimes they are isolated, traversing acres, kilometers, miles in isolation just with the animals. Sometimes makes them lonely and deprived. Now, when they see any lady around, you know how that lady will suffer in their hands. So I just want to paint a mental picture of what the agony, the pain they may have caused to this young teenager, raping her to death. And someone who wanted to intervene, of course, was shot dead. I know what that means. So what am I saying in essence? With all these things, the essence of government is the people. Wherever you hear government, it is all about the people. There can't be any government without the people. If there is no people, then the government ceases to exist. So the primary essence of government or governance is centered or predicated on the welfare, the security of the citizens, of the people. If this singular objective or essence of government is defeated, if the resources of the state is not harnessed to ensure that the life and property of the citizens and their welfare is being taken care of, then it means it's a defeated entity. It is more or less a callous entity, an entity, a barbarian state, a state that has no value attached to her citizens, and of course, everyone resident within that. You cannot tell me that an American citizen could be attacked in America without the government, of course, stepping up, rising to her responsibilities. I saw when a Black American was killed, Floyd, how people protested. And of course, it was during the Trump era of dispensation. Trump came and, of course, apologized to the family, and they were heavily compensated for such a loss. And the perpetrators of this heinous crime was, of course, what brought to justice just one person. The entire American state was shaken. And so people of African origin were ranting, shouting, American life, Black life matters, Black life matters. So Black life matters when it has to do with Americans, American government, but it does not matter in your own state. It does not matter in African continent. It does not matter in Nigeria. The same black life that matters. What a total blunder. What act of hypocrisy within the black race. We've seen how African citizens in their own domain are being killed, massacred on a daily basis, and it doesn't matter. Every day, people are being reported, killed, murdered, raped, just as I just narrated. People who do sleep with animals, when they eventually cut a lady in isolation, you know what that means? They will engrave the person until death. As if people are not imagining or seeing this level of wickedness, atrocity against humanity. Now, some have argued, or perhaps might have countered, of course, whatever be or proposal to stop or enact a law that will stop open grazing or anti-open grazing bill. They fought against it. They say no, as doing that will limit their right to movement, to live wherever they are. Somebody who is selling spare parts, does that stop him from getting to Kano State and find a house, a shop where he can put his spare parts and begin to sell? So what is different about that? Somebody selling okrika. Will he go to Kano State and be living in the bush because he's selling okrika? I tell us that they are meant to be in the forest, that they don't ask for education or for good life. They only want to live with their cattle and move the way they want. And they're constituting nuisance, killing the indigenous people. And you think that people will fold their hands and watch their own loved ones killed repeatedly without rising to address this unfortunate and destructive, dehumanizing tendencies. Now, you see why most of these militias, or of course, have not been apprehended by Nigerian government. They said they are not everywhere. They are not in charge. So you don't have to blame them. If there is multiple attack anywhere, if communities are raided and invaded, if people are massacred in their thousands or millions, it doesn't matter to them. They have told you they can't be everywhere at the same time. So they are justifying their ineptitude, their weakness, and their lack of responsibility and insensitivity to the plight of Nigerians. Farmers can't go to farm. People are being adopted and killed, except you pay ransom, just as a very young teenager of 17 was killed. While his own parents were rallying around to raise funds to pay for the ransom, they killed that young boy. I think Dr. Musa's son. So even Abuja is not safe. So what am I trying to pass across? Now, haven't seen the position of the Nigerian Defense Headquarters or the Chief of Defense Staff, that you don't blame them if communities are being invaded and attacked. You don't have to blame them because they are not everywhere. They are not magicians. As if we don't know the difference between magicians and the military, security operatives. Okay, what they are doing now is masquerading. They have left the functionalities, the responsibility, the call to duty to protect the territorial integrity of the Nigerian state and her population. Of course, now they are masquerading, being everywhere. But they can't be everywhere in the north, but they have ample opportunity. They have all it takes. They can mobilize all the arsenal of the state to be amount road blocks in the eastern parts, while the entire population of the northern hemisphere are left in the state of vulnerability, in the state of exploitation, that they could be exploited. People are paying heavily to access their farmlands, and of course, they're being conditioned in such a way that they are helpless. Most of this space are governed space. The absence of the security operatives, no even police station. I mean, you can traverse acres, kilometers without finding any police station or any checkpoint in the entire northern hemisphere. And you know the implication of that. It's a virgin land, of course, which could be exploited by any uh, militias or militias. But where you can mount security operatives is in the southeast, because the people should be tackled head on. They could be suppressed. Operation Python dance, Operation this dance. They are only goods, of course, in the southeastern region of the Nigerian states. Now, you can see with the latest happenings and the renewed quest agitation for the restoration of the Biafran state in 2023, the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government in exile set up a government in exile, and of course the de facto government in Holland, to ensure they protect the life and properties of the Biafrans according to them. But we've seen, despite this, there have been renewed attack on the supposed citizens of Biafrans. Of most recent and most pronounced is the massacre, of course, that happened in Ebonyi State. Ebonyi shared borders with the northern states, which could be, of course, as an entrance for these invaders or militias to infiltrate, to strike and eventually retire to their safe haven. Now, the question is, yes, we understood the enormous challenges of the Prime Minister and the Biafran Republic government in exile. They are still engaging diplomatic uh, engagements with international communities, seeking, of course, to gain their support and attentions. We understood that they could not have the resources and the human personnel to man the entire Biafran borders, or the supposed 40 states of the Biafran United States has been declared by Simon Epa. But then, that is not excuse for the reason why the Biafran citizens or everyone resident within the Biafran state can be protected, because that is the primary responsibility of any government. The priority should be placed on how do you protect the life, having underscored the terrain, the porous borders, and the advantageous regions, which of course you have with them, and know how to manage those weak or porous, and of course place surveillance continuously, not just going to sleep, only to wake up and understand that the enemy have sown tar, very destructive tar, have invaded and invaded the communities, and you will only be mourning and be mourning, counting your losses. But that is not to say that we have to blame the Biafran Republic government in exile, because the Biafran Declaration is yet to be, of course, invoked, and which probably, according to the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government in exile, that once Biafran Declaration restoration is made, there will be a follow-up move to defend the territorial integrity of the Biafran state. But in the meanwhile, I've understood they have limited, of course, presence in terms of their security personnel and robust security system to be able to mount the entire Biafran territory. Now, this is to say that they are not fully on ground, because if they are, this assault, these massacres wouldn't have been in the place. But we have state governors who still believe they are the first citizens of the states. They have failed to protect the life and properties within their territory or domain. We've seen the Enugu governor, Ebonyi governor, weeping when they saw the way communities were massacred under their watch. They resort to weeping. When they, as they said, they don't have control over the military. We don't have the control over the military. And the lives that are lost are human lives under your territory, within your territory or territorial landscape. So who should you blame? Should you blame the innocent people or residents of those communities who are living in their ancestral homes only to be invaded by external militias who possibly are on a very destructive mission or agenda? So you are just weeping. We've seen Ugwani, we've seen the former Ebonyi State, the current Minister of Work, what is that his name again? Weeping after the onslaught and massacre of his own people and the communities. He saw the level of devastation and the level of atrocity that was committed. He only resorted to weeping. The weeping governors who are indolent, who does not know what it takes to preside as the executive governor of the state. You have the responsibility under the law. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Now, who do we blame over the continued loss of life of innocent citizens? We can now say, within the eastern region, we now have two parallel governments. The presence of two parallel governments could be seen operational. The one is yet to get dominance, as the quest for the restoration declaration of the Biafran state is sustained, according to the report that the U.S. government is to back the Biafra declaration in matters of months, that is working towards the 2nd of December 2024, which is just about less than a few months from now. Yes, as the case is, we are in the 7th month, just less than 5 months or 150 days or less. We will be expecting such development, according to the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government in exile, in his latest briefing. Whatever happens before then, what do you think could be done for the people's life to be preserved? Because they say that the price of freedom is internal vigilance. How can the people be protected? How can lives and properties of the populations of the eastern region be protected? Coming to the Nigerian side, or the security operatives according to the Chief of Defense Staff. They can be everywhere. That's why, of course, the Ebonyi State indigenous could be attacked. Precisely Afikpo, they were massacred, and of course, that becomes history. This is not the first, not the second, not the third, not the. In fact, it has become a continuous occurrence. Do we say the first was a mistake and we allow the mistake to repeat? The second is another mistake. How many blunders, how many mistakes can be made before we learn to be proactive? Before we learn, even the communities should be on guard to protect themselves, because it is the inalienable rights of humans to protect themselves. Self-defense is an inalienable right to humans and, of course, societies. You can't continue to watch helplessly. You attack the first time, second time, third time. The more you attack, the more massacre is being recorded. The more you lose your personnel, your people, the more, of course, you lose mothers and fathers. And, of course, daughters are being lost just like that. If a community, if we have about 25,000 communities and 500 was killed today, after an interval, another 1,000 killed, by what number of that population has been reduced? The same thing happened the next interval, 300 killed, 100 killed. These are human beings who are dying endlessly, needlessly, and unfortunately, what we could do is just to react. We are waiting for that to happen before we start reacting. And the invaders who have understood that these guys are not serious, that only when we strive to ourselves heavens, and of course, wait for the next and strategize for the next line of action. It is quite unfortunate and very disturbing that we watch our own people killed. What are the governments doing? Only to cry and weep and make empty promises, pledges that the perpetrators will bring to book. Which of the book is it? In encyclopedia, or where do we find the book that they will be brought to? And none of them have been brought to book. So who are we fooling? Who do we blame? Unfortunately, the traditional rulers have become a stooge, and of course, unfortunately, have lost their. I mean, if at all they have any power or dominance within their supposed domain. Internal vigilance is the price for freedom, for safety. So those communities or border communities or states will be able, to stand up and brace up with the realities. Otherwise, my people say, we're not tired there and wait. And they saw Mbabu Agog. But that influence, the people should rise to defend themselves. The people should rise to find out how do we stop these invaders. Where are the entrance points? So how do we build this day and night? How do you mount up surveillance to ensure that there is no repeat of that? It's quite unfortunate that innocent citizens, I mean children, including children, are being killed mercilessly. No empathy, no sympathy for even the younger ones. You see how they are being caught with butchered, with cutlass. You will know that this is internal hatred, internal wickedness displayed. It's quite unfortunate. It should be, of course, the concern of every responsible humans. And every hands must be on deck to address this. And of course, hold the government are responsible who has failed in the primary responsibility of protecting life and properties. So when you fail to protect the life of the citizens, it means you have lost your legitimate right to govern the space. That is nothing but the truth. If you can't protect them, so why are you governing? Why are you imposing governance over them? So these are more issues that must be looked into. You can't say you are protecting your government over a region why the people are being massacred helplessly. Just like I got Benue, what is happening in Benue, it is quite very disturbing. But that seems to be endless. That seems to be endless. And the people are helpless. And the security operatives are telling you that they are not magicians. They can't be everywhere, even when they are there. What did they do to arrest the situation? Even when they are present, what can they do to protect the people's life and forestall further attacks? It's quite unfortunate, a very painful one, that even in Africa, black life does not matter. We must look inward. My people do say, Ana mama, ana sinulo mana mapuama. We must address the mirrors of problem, the foundational problem why people are being killed, massacred on daily basis within the African soil, within the Nigerian states. Virtually every region is in the state of vulnerability. People have been attacked in the north, in the south, in the west, of course, in the east, including the security operatives themselves are victims of this heightened insecurity. They are not even spared themselves. That is to tell you there is need to address this state's insecurity as a matter of urgency. There is need to address it. But unfortunately, the political class or the supposed leaders have not shown any political will or sincerity to address these mirrors of problem. Perhaps because of what they enjoy or they feel they have some security oddities attached to them. And it doesn't matter, just as the 10th president of the National Assembly said that the life of the president is worth more than 200 million Nigerians, because the president must procure a jet that will enable him navigate through the world. But why people are being died, it doesn't matter. The life is worthless. If not, why shouldn't the government rise to protect her citizens? Thank you once again for being part of the discussion. I wish you a very fruitful weekend. And of course, realizations with your loved ones and friends. Thank you once again for being part of this. Please don't forget to hit the like buttons. I remain Chigozendibo, the host anchor. Until I come your way in subsequent editions. Bye for now.